My name is Daniel Carter, and in my own home, I am nothing more than a stranger. Not a husband, not a son, not even a brother. Just a man they learned to hate. The dining table used to feel warm once. Laughter, small talks, shared meals. It all feels like something from another life now. Tonight, it feels like a battlefield. The clinking of plates echoes louder than usual. No one speaks. No one looks at me. Across the table, my younger brother Lucas Carter sits with his jaw clenched, his eyes filled with something between anger and resentment. Beside him, my wife, Emily Carter, quietly eats her food, her gaze fixed on her plate like I don't even exist. And at the head of the table, my father sits silently, his disappointment louder than any words he could say. I pick up my fork, but the food tastes like nothing. Because I already know what's coming. It always comes. Suddenly, bang! Lucas slams his hand against the table, making the plates rattle. "That's it," he snaps, his voice sharp enough to cut through the silence. I'm sick of this. I slowly lift my eyes to meet his. There it is. That look. The same one he's been giving me for years now. Blame. "You ruin everything, Daniel," he says, his voice filled with pure accusation. The words hit me. Not because they're new, but because they've become normal. I don't respond. I never do. What's the point? Lucas lets out a bitter laugh. Look at him. Of course he won't say anything. He never does. My fingers tighten slightly around the fork. I could speak, I could explain, I could tell them everything, but I won't. Because the truth would only destroy them more. Emily finally moves. She gently puts her fork down, but the sound feels heavier than Lucas's anger. Then she speaks. Calm, cold, distant. "You stopped being my husband a long time ago." For a moment, time freezes. Her words don't come with anger. That would have been easier to handle. No. They come with something far worse. Indifference. Like I don't matter anymore. Like whatever we had is already dead. I look at her. Really look at her. The woman I once loved more than anything. The woman I thought I would grow old with. And now, she won't even meet my eyes. Something inside my chest tightens, but I don't let it show. I never do. Lucas scoffs again. Why is he even still here? No one answers. Because deep down, they're all thinking the same thing. I slowly place my fork down. The sound is quiet. Weiss almost invisible. Just like me. "I'm done," Lucas mutters, pushing his chair back as he stands up. "I can't sit here and pretend this is a family anymore." He walks away without looking back. Emily stands up shortly after. For a second, I think she might say something else. Anything. But she doesn't. She just walks past me, like I'm not even there. And then it's just me. And the silence. Heavy, suffocating, endless. I sit there for a long time after everyone leaves, staring at nothing, thinking about everything, the choices I made, the mistakes I carry, the truth I buried. They think I destroyed this family. They think I'm selfish, cold, heartless, a monster, and maybe that's exactly what I let them believe. Because the truth is, someone had to take the blame, and I chose to be that person. A small, tired smile forms on my lips. "Yeah," I whisper under my breath, "I guess this is how it ends." Later that night, I stand in our bedroom. No, her bedroom now. The room feels unfamiliar, even though I've lived here for years. Emily's side of the bed is untouched. Mine barely feels like it belongs to me anymore. I open the closet and pull out a small travel bag. I don't take much, just the essentials. A few clothes, my wallet, some documents, things that prove I exist, even if no one here sees me anymore. As I zip the bag, my eyes wander around the room one last time. Memories flash through my mind. Laughter, late-night conversations, promises we made to each other, promises I couldn't keep, or maybe promises they never truly understood. I take a deep breath, then I turn and walk out. The hallway is dark, quiet. Everyone is asleep, or maybe they just don't care enough to notice I'm leaving. I stop in front of my father's door. For a moment, I consider knocking, telling him everything, the truth, the reason behind it all. But my hand drops before it even reaches the door. "No," I whisper. "It's better this way." I walk past it, step by step. Getting closer to the front door, the final line between me and the life I'm leaving behind. I place my hand on the handle. Pause, just for a second. Because once I walk out, there's no coming back. Not like this. A bitter smile forms on my face. If they see me as the villain, I whisper softly, maybe it's better if I disappear. And then, I open the door. Cold air rushes in. The night is quiet, empty, just like me. I step outside. And without looking back, I walk away from my family, from my home, from everything I once was. That night. Daniel Carter didn't just leave the house. He became the villain they already believed him to be. The apartment is small, too small. The walls are plain white, almost lifeless, like they've never held memories. Only silence. There's a single bed in the corner, a worn-out couch, and a table that looks like it has survived better days. No decorations, no warmth, no life, just space, empty space. I drop my bag near the door and stand there for a moment, staring into nothing. This is it. This is what I chose. A place where no one knows me. A place where no one expects anything from me. A place where I don't have to be. Daniel Carter. I slowly walk inside, my footsteps echoing faintly against the floor. The silence is loud, louder than the arguments, louder than the accusations, because at least back then, there were voices. Now, there's nothing. I sit on the edge of the bed, leaning forward, elbows resting on my knees. My hands hang loosely, like I don't even have the strength to hold on to anything anymore. For the first time in years, there's no one blaming me, no one watching me, no one expecting me to explain myself. And yet, it doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like I've disappeared. The days pass slowly, too slowly. Morning blends into night without meaning. I wake up, sit in silence, stare at the walls, and wait for time to move. But time feels different here, heavier. Every second stretches longer than it should. And with nothing to distract me, my mind starts to wander, back to the past, back to everything I've been trying to bury. I see it again, that day. The beginning of the end. My father's voice, tense, worried, stacks of papers on the table, numbers that didn't add up. The business was collapsing. Everything we had built, everything my father had spent his life creating, was falling apart. We're out of options, he had said quietly. I remember the silence that followed. Heavy, terrifying. That was the moment I made the decision, a risky one, a desperate one. I took a loan under my name, signed a deal I knew could either save us or destroy everything, and when it failed, I became the only one to blame, because I made sure of it. I closed my eyes tightly, forcing the memory away. Doesn't matter anymore, I mutter under my breath. What's done is done. The past doesn't change, no matter how many times I replay it. A knock on the door breaks the silence. I frown slightly. No one knows I'm here. At least, they shouldn't. I stand up slowly and walk toward the door. Another knock, more impatient this time. I open it and freeze. Ethan? Standing there, hands in his pockets, is Ethan Brooks. Same calm expression, same sharp eyes that seem to see right through people. He exhales, shaking his head slightly. Took me long enough to find you, he says. I step aside without a word, letting him in. He walks into the apartment, looking around. His gaze lingers on the empty walls. The silence, the loneliness. Then he looks back at me. This is how you're living now? I shrug lightly. It's enough. Ethan studies me for a moment, then he speaks. You're not evil, Daniel. His voice is calm, steady. But you're definitely broken. The words don't hit like an insult. They hit like truth, and that makes them heavier. I let out a quiet breath, looking away. Broken things don't get fixed, I say. They get replaced. Ethan steps closer. That's not true. I shake my head. It is where I come from. Silence fills the room again, but this time, it's not empty. It's heavy with everything we're not saying. Ethan sighs, running a hand through his hair. You can't keep doing this to yourself, he says. I'm not doing anything, I reply. I left. That's it. No, he says firmly. You ran. The word lands harder than anything else. I turn to him, my jaw tightening slightly. You don't understand. Then make me understand, he fires back. I stay silent, because I can't, or maybe I won't. Ethan watches me carefully, then his tone softens. There's someone you should talk to, he says. I let out a dry laugh. I'm not interested. She's not optional, he replies. Not anymore. I frown. What does that mean? It means I already made the appointment. I stare at him. You what? You need help. You need Daniel, he says calmly, and I'm not going to stand by and watch you destroy yourself. The next day, I find myself sitting in a quiet office. Soft lighting, neutral colors, a calm atmosphere that feels unfamiliar. Across from me sits Dr. Olivia Hayes. She's composed, observant, the kind of person who doesn't miss anything. She looks at me for a long moment before speaking. So, you're Daniel? I nod slightly. That's what people call me. Her eyebrow lifts slightly. Is that not who you are? I don't answer, because I don't know anymore. She leans back slightly, studying me. You don't talk much, do you? No point, I reply. There's always a point, she says calmly. Not when no one listens? She tilts her head slightly. Or when you choose not to be heard? That makes me pause, just for a second. Her eyes lock onto mine, sharp, unwavering. Then she asks the question, the one that cuts deeper than anything else. Why are you choosing to be misunderstood? My breath catches slightly. The room feels smaller, like the walls are closing in. I'm not choosing anything, I say quietly. Really? She replies, yes. Then explain this to me, she says. You had the chance to defend yourself, and you didn't. Silence. You had the chance to tell the truth, and you stayed quiet. My fingers tighten slightly. You had the chance to stay and fight for your place in your family. Her voice softens slightly, but instead, you left. The words echo in my mind, over and over again. I look down at my hands, for the first time. I don't have an answer ready. Dr. Hayes doesn't push further. She just watches me, waiting, patient, like she knows the silence will break eventually. And maybe she's right, because for the first time, a question forms in my mind, one I've been avoiding, one I never wanted to face. I swallow slowly and whisper under my breath. Did I leave to protect them? My voice barely audible. Or did I leave to escape the pain? The room stays silent, but this time, the silence feels different, not empty, not suffocating, but unavoidable. Because now, I can't run from the truth anymore. There are truths we hide from the world. And then, there are truths we bury so deep, even we forget what it feels like to speak them out loud. I sit in the same chair, same room, same silence, but something feels different today, heavier, like the weight I've been carrying for years is finally starting to crack. Across from me, Dr. Olivia Hayes watches quietly, patient, waiting. She hasn't said anything for the past few minutes. She doesn't need to, because this time, the silence isn't protecting me anymore, it's suffocating me. I take a slow breath, my fingers tightening together. You wanted to know why I let them believe I'm the villain, I say quietly. She nods once. No interruption, no judgment, just listening. For the first time, I don't look away. I didn't just let it happen, I continue. I made sure of it. The memory comes back, clear, sharp, unforgiving, years ago. The house was filled with tension, not the kind we have now, but the kind that comes before everything falls apart. Stacks of documents covered the table, unpaid debts, failed deals, losses that kept growing. My father, the man who never showed weakness, looked tired, defeated. The company won't survive another month, he had said quietly. Those words, they changed everything. I remember standing there, watching him, watching everything he had built slowly crumble in front of him. That business wasn't just money, it was his life, our family's identity, our future, and it was slipping away. Someone had to do something, so I did. I took the loan, I say, my voice steady but low. Dr. Hayes doesn't react, but I can feel her attention sharpen. A massive one, I continue. More than I could ever repay on my own. I swallow slowly. I signed a deal. one that could have saved everything. A pause, but it didn't. The silence between us grows heavier, because that's not the full truth, not even close. I close my eyes for a second, then say the words I've never said out loud before. Lucas was involved. The room feels colder, even though nothing has changed. He pushed for the deal, I continue. He believed it would work. He convinced me it was the only way. My jaw tightened slightly, and when it failed, I opened my eyes. I took all the blame. Dr. Hayes leans forward slightly. Why? One word, simple, but it carries everything. I let out a quiet breath. Because he had a future. My voice softens. Because one mistake wouldn't just ruin him, it would define him. I looked down at my hands, and I couldn't let that happen. I remember that day clearly, the accusations, the anger, the disappointment. Lucas stayed silent, and I made sure he could. I didn't defend myself, didn't explain, didn't even try. I let them believe I was reckless, selfish, irresponsible, because if they blamed me, they wouldn't look at him. I chose it, I whisper. I chose to become the villain. The words finally leave my chest, and for a moment, I feel lighter, but it doesn't last, because the consequences of that choice never disappeared. They only grew. Dr. Hayes watches me carefully. Then she speaks. You think that was protection? I frown slightly. It was. She shakes her head. No, Daniel. Her voice is calm, but firm. Humming, you didn't protect your family. I look up at her, confused. Then she says it, the truth I've been avoiding. You sacrificed your identity. The words hit harder than anything else. I stay silent, because I can't argue. Because somewhere deep down, I know she's right. You erased yourself, she continues. You gave them a version of you to hate, and never gave them the chance to see who you really are. My chest tightens. That was the point, I say quietly. Yes, she replies, but look where that brought you. I don't answer, because I already know. It brought me here, alone, forgotten, disconnected from everything I once had. A knock interrupts the moment. I turn slightly as the door opens. Ethan steps inside, his expression more serious than usual. Sorry, he says to Dr. Hayes. I need a minute. She nods and stands, I giving us space. Ethan turns to me, and I know immediately something's wrong. What happened? I ask. He hesitates for a second, then speaks. You should know. His voice lowers. Emily's struggling. My heart tightens instantly. What do you mean? She's working multiple jobs, he says, trying to keep things together. The image forms in my mind. Emily, alone, tired, carrying everything, just like I used to. And your father. Ethan continues. He's not doing well. My breath catches. What? His health is getting worse, he says quietly. Stress, pressure, everything. The words hit me like a wave, heavy, unforgiving. I sit there, frozen, because this is what I was trying to prevent. This is why I made that choice, why I carried everything alone, and yet they're still suffering. Ethan watches me carefully. You can't stay like this, he says. I don't respond, because my mind is already somewhere else, back at that house, at that table, at the people I walked away from. Dr. Hayes steps back into the room. Her eyes move between us, reading the situation instantly. She looks at me and asks quietly, What are you going to do now? I don't answer immediately, because for the first time, I don't know. I thought leaving would fix things. I thought silence would protect them. I thought becoming the villain was the right choice. But now, everything I tried to avoid is still happening. I close my eyes slowly, and the question finally forms in my mind. Clear, unavoidable. I whisper it under my breath. Do I stay gone? My voice feels heavier than ever. Or do I finally tell the truth? The room stays silent. But this time, the silence feels like a turning point, because whatever I choose next will change everything. Some places never change, even when everything inside them does. I stand in front of the house I once called home. The same walls, the same gate, the same silence. But it doesn't feel like home anymore. It feels like a place I was erased from. Months ago, I walked away from this house without looking back. Now, I'm standing here again. And for the first time. I don't know if I belong here anymore. My hand hesitates before reaching the door. A part of me wants to turn around, to walk away again, because leaving once was easier than coming back. But this time, running isn't an option, not anymore. I take a breath and knock. The door opens slowly, and there she is. Emily, for a moment. Everything freezes. She looks exactly the same, and completely different at the same time. There are dark circles under her eyes. Her expression is colder, tired, like life hasn't been kind to her either. Her eyes meet mine, and the moment she recognizes me, they harden. Daniel? My name sounds unfamiliar in her voice now, like something distant, something she no longer wants to hold on to. I open my mouth slightly, but before I can say anything, her expression changes. Anger. Sharp. Immediate. Why are you back? The words hit harder than I expected. Not because of what she said, but because of how easily she said it. Like I don't belong here anymore. Like I lost the right to come back. I swallow slowly. I needed to see... See what? She cuts me off. Her voice rises slightly. What's left? Silence fills the space between us. I don't have an answer she would accept, so I stay quiet, just like always. Footsteps echo from behind her. I already know who it is. Lucas. He steps into view. Then stops the moment he sees me. His body stiffens, his jaw tightens, and then he looks away, like I'm not even worth acknowledging. That hurts more than anything he could have said, because anger means something, but this is indifference. I'm not here to fight, I say quietly. Emily lets out a dry laugh. Then why are you here? Her question hangs in the air, heavy, because I don't know how to answer it without breaking everything. My voice fades. I can't finish the sentence, because the truth would change everything. Before anything else can be said, another voice interrupts. Daniel. Calm, deep, familiar. I turn slightly and see him standing there. Uncle Victor Hale, my father's oldest friend, the man who's seen more of this family than anyone else. His expression is unreadable, but his eyes, they hold something I can't quite place. Not anger, not disappointment, something else, something heavier. Come with me, he says quietly. I hesitate for a moment, then follow him. We step outside, away from the tension inside the house. The air feels colder here, or maybe it's just me. Victor doesn't speak immediately. He waits, like he's choosing his words carefully. Then finally, he says something that stops everything. Your father knew? I frown slightly. Knew what? He looks directly at me and says it. The truth. The world seems to go silent. For a moment, I think I misheard him. That's not possible, I say quickly. He didn't know. Victor doesn't move, doesn't blink. He knew everything, Daniel, he says calmly. From the start. My chest tightens instantly. No. I shake my head. That's not... It is, he interrupts. You think you were the only one trying to protect this family? His words hit harder than anything else, because they carry something I wasn't prepared for. Truth. My mind starts racing. If he knew? If my father knew the truth? Then why did he let me take the blame? Why did he let everyone hate me? Why didn't he say anything? I don't understand, I whisper. Victor's gaze softens slightly. He made his own choice, he says, just like you did. Before I can ask anything else, a loud sound echoes from inside the house. A crash, followed by a voice, panicked. Dad! Emily's voice. Everything happens at once. We rush inside, and there he is, my father, collapsed on the floor, unmoving. Call an ambulance, Lucas shouts, his voice shaking. Emily is already on the phone, her hands trembling. I freeze for half a second, because this was never supposed to happen. Dad, I whisper, stepping closer. My chest feels tight, like something is crushing it from the inside. This wasn't part of the plan. This wasn't what I was trying to protect them from. The ambulance arrives, everything becomes noise, voices, movement, urgency, and then we're at the hospital. The waiting room feels colder than anything I've ever experienced. No one speaks, no one looks at each other. We're all sitting there, but it feels like we're miles apart. A doctor walks toward us, calm, professional, Dr. Ryan Cole. His eyes move across all of us before he speaks. He's stable for now, he says, but that word, it always changes everything. Stress has pushed him too far. Silence, heavy, unforgiving. My hands clench slightly because I know exactly what that stress is. Everything, the business, the family, the truth, the silence, and suddenly, everything I tried to bury, everything I tried to hide, starts rising to the surface all at once. I look down at my hands, the same hands that made the decision years ago, the same hands that chose silence over truth, the same hands that walked away. And now, that silence is breaking, whether I'm ready for it or not, for the first time. I realize something I've been avoiding all along. The truth doesn't stay buried forever. It waits, and when it comes back, it doesn't come quietly. It comes like this, sudden, painful, unavoidable, and now there's no running from it anymore. Hospitals have a way of stripping everything down to the truth. No pride, no masks, no lies that can hold forever. Just reality. Cold, unforgiving, and impossible to ignore. The waiting room is silent, not the peaceful kind of silence, but the kind that presses against your chest and makes it hard to breathe. Emily sits across from me, her hands clenched tightly together. Her eyes are red, but she refuses to cry again. Lucas stands near the window, his back turned to all of us. He hasn't said a word since we got here. Not to me, not to anyone. And my father. He's lying in a hospital bed just a few doors away, fighting something none of us can see. I sit there quietly, just like always. But this time, the silence feels different. It doesn't feel like protection anymore. It feels like a burden, one that's finally about to break. The door opens. A nurse steps out briefly, then disappears down the hallway again. No updates, no reassurance, just more waiting. I can't do this. The voice is low, shaking, broken. I look up. Lucas. He hasn't turned around, but I can see it in the way his shoulders move. He's barely holding himself together. Emily notices too. Lucas? She says softly. But he doesn't respond immediately. Instead, he laughs. A hollow, empty sound. I should have said something. His voice cracks. I should have told the truth from the start. My chest tightens, because I know where this is going, because I've been waiting for this moment, and fearing it at the same time. Lucas slowly turns around. His eyes are red, filled with something I've never seen before. Guilt, deep, unavoidable guilt. He looks at Emily first, then at me. And for the first time in years, he doesn't look at me with anger. He looks at me like he finally sees me. It wasn't just Daniel. His voice is barely steady. I was part of it too. The words fall into the room like a shockwave. Emily freezes. Her eyes widen. What? She looks between us, confused, trying to understand. You mean... Her voice shakes slightly. He didn't do it alone? Lucas shakes his head slowly. No. His voice breaks. He didn't. The truth is out. After all these years, after all the silence, after all the damage, it's finally out. Emily looks at me now. Really looks at me. Like she's seeing something she missed before. Something she never allowed herself to question. You mean... Her voice softens. He protected you? The question hangs in the air, heavy, painful, unavoidable. Lucas nods, slowly, guiltily. He took all the blame. His voice cracks again. Because I couldn't. Silence, but this time, it's not empty. It's filled with realization, with regret, with everything we lost because of the truth no one wanted to see. Emily's eyes begin to fill with tears again. But this time, they're not just from pain, they're from understanding. And for the first time, I speak. Not carefully, not quietly, not hiding behind silence, but fully, honestly, completely. I thought carrying it alone would save you all. My voice is steady, but there's weight behind every word. I thought if they blamed me, I glance at Lucas briefly, they wouldn't look at you. Emily's breath catches slightly. I continue. I thought if I became the problem, they'd never have to face the truth. I pause for a moment, because this part is the hardest. I marched, but it didn't. My voice lowers. It didn't save anything. I look around the room, at Lucas, at Emily, at the empty space where my father should be. It destroyed us. The words settle into the silence, and no one argues, because no one can. Everything we are now, everything we lost, every broken piece of this family, it all leads back to that one decision, and the silence that followed it. The door opens quietly. A nurse steps out. He's awake, she says softly. We all stand at the same time. No hesitation, no distance, just movement, together, for the first time in a long time. We enter the room slowly. My father lies in the bed, weaker than I've ever seen him, but his eyes are open, aware, watching us. For a moment, no one speaks because there's too much to say and not enough strength to say it all. His gaze lands on me and stays there. Daniel. His voice is weak but clear. I step closer, my chest tightening with every step. I'm here, I say quietly. He studies my face, like he's searching for something, or maybe like he's finally seeing something clearly. Then he speaks, slowly, carefully, each word carrying weight. A man who suffers in silence. He pauses, catching his breath. Isn't strong. The room goes still. He's just... Another pause. We all wait. Alone. The words land deeper than anything else, because they're not just a statement, they're a truth, a realization, a warning. Something inside me shifts, not breaks, but changes, because for years, I believed silence was strength. I believed everything alone made me stronger. I believed protecting them meant disappearing myself, but now I see it clearly. I wasn't strong. I was just alone. And that realization changes everything. For the first time, I don't feel like the villain anymore, but I also don't feel like the man I used to be. I feel like someone standing in between who I was and who I need to become. And this time, I won't stay silent, because silence didn't save us. It broke us, and I'm done letting it decide who I am. Healing doesn't happen all at once. It doesn't come in a single moment. There's no sudden fix, no perfect apology that erases the past, just small steps, slow, painful, but real. The house feels different now. Not warmer, not yet, but lighter, like something heavy has finally been spoken out loud. And the silence that once filled every corner is starting to fade. My father is back home, still weak, still recovering, but alive. And somehow, that feels like a second chance. For all of us. I stand in the living room, looking around at the place I once left behind. This house holds memories. Some good, most painful. But for the first time, I'm not running from them. I need to say something. Emily's voice breaks the quiet. I turn toward her. She's standing a few steps away, her hands tightly clasped together. Her eyes don't quite meet mine at first, like she's afraid of what she might see, or what I might say. I was wrong. The words come out slowly, carefully. I judged you without understanding anything. Her voice trembles slightly. I didn't even try to ask. I just believed what I saw. I watch her quietly, not interrupting, not reacting immediately, because this moment, it matters. I was angry, she continues, hurt, confused, and instead of trusting you, her voice softens. I pushed you away. She finally looks at me, and this time, she doesn't look angry. She looks human, broken, real. I'm sorry, Daniel. The words hang in the air, sincere, heavy, but not enough to erase everything. And that's okay, because that's not how healing works. I take a slow breath, then answer honestly. Not as the man I used to be, but as the man I've become. We both made mistakes. My voice is calm, steady. I hid the truth. I pause briefly. And you stopped trusting me. She lowers her gaze slightly, not in shame, but in acceptance, because she knows it's true. For the first time. This isn't an argument, it's understanding. I thought I was protecting you, I continue, but all I did was build a wall between us. Silence follows, but it's no longer painful, it's thoughtful. I don't want that anymore, I say quietly, and I mean it. Later that evening, I find Lucas outside, standing alone, just like I used to. Some habits don't disappear easily. He doesn't turn when I approach, but I know he knows I'm there. I don't know how to fix this. His voice is low. Guilt sits heavy in every word. I stop beside him, not too close. See, not too far. You don't fix it all at once, I say. He lets out a quiet breath. I should have said something back then. Yes, I reply. Honest, not harsh, just real. He nods slightly, like he expected that answer. I let you take everything, he says, and I lived like nothing happened. That's not true, I say calmly. He frowns slightly, confused. You've been carrying it too, I continue, just differently. He goes quiet again, because deep down, he knows I'm right. Guilt doesn't disappear just because you hide it. It waits, just like truth does. I'm going to make it right, he says after a moment. I look at him, and for the first time, I don't see the brother who failed me. I see someone trying to change. Then start now, I tell him. Not tomorrow, not someday, now. That night, I sit alone in my room. The same room I once left behind, the same walls, the same window, but I'm not the same person anymore. I don't feel the need to carry everything alone. I don't feel the need to stay silent. I don't feel the need to sacrifice myself just to keep the peace. Because now, I understand something I didn't before. Strength isn't about everything quietly. It's about knowing when to speak, when to stand, when to stop pretending everything is fine. The next morning proves it. At breakfast, there's tension, still, but it's different now. Less sharp, less suffocating. My father sits at the head of the table, weaker than before, but present, watching all of us carefully. I want things to be different, I say, breaking the silence. They all look at me, surprised, because this isn't something I would have said before. I'm not going to hide things anymore. My voice is steady, clear, and I'm not going to carry everything alone. No one interrupts, no one argues. If something's wrong, I continue. We deal with it together. Emily nods slowly. Lucas exhales quietly. And my father. He smiles, just slightly. But it's enough. Because this is what he wanted all along. Not silence, not sacrifice, but truth. Days pass, then weeks. Nothing is perfect. There are still awkward moments, still pain that hasn't fully healed. But there's also something new. Effort, understanding, honesty. And that's enough. For now. One evening, I stand outside the house again. The same place I once stood before leaving. But this time, I'm not thinking about running. I'm thinking about staying. Not because I have to, but because I choose to. And that makes all the difference. For a long time, I believed I was the villain of this story, the one who broke everything, the one who didn't belong. But now I see it clearly. I was never the villain. I whisper softly to myself. I just played the role too well. The wind moves gently around me, quiet, calm, and for the first time in a long time. So am I, because I finally understand the truth that changed everything, the truth that cost me years, the truth I'll never ignore again. I didn't lose my family because I was the villain. I take a slow breath, looking back at the house, at the people inside. I lost them because I chose silence over truth. And this time, I won't make that mistake again. The end.